Whether your team is 2 people or 200 people, today you're going to want to pay attention. We're talking about how do you coach your employees and your teams, whether they're in person or virtual. Hey there, I'm Molly from the Visibility Hacking team, and I help small businesses just like you with their visibility, their marketing, and so much more. And today we're talking about managing our internal teams. How do we get along with our employees, our team members, whether they're virtual or in person? And if you've been here for a while, you've probably heard at least one of the stories of my bad bosses. The difference between a really bad boss and a really great boss, well, there's a few different things that separate them. But the biggest difference is their ability to manage other people. You might be the smartest person on your team, but if you don't have that interpersonal skill, the ability to work with other people, then that genius is going to start dulling in the eyes of those around you, because you are going to start bringing up other emotions and other feelings, which are going to be less productive. So let's get rid of that feeling and get to solutions. In this video, I'm going to show you the 2-step coaching program that works no matter the size of your team. And of course, we're going to talk about the mistake that most managers and team leaders make. And at the end of the video, we'll show you how to lower your turnover and increase your team satisfaction. All this and more, stay tuned. Roll the intro. Two-step coaching system that works regardless if your team is 2 people or 200 people. Let's get into it. So this is a process that really works. I helped develop it with a entrepreneurial friend of mine, Matt, when he was bringing on his 90th virtual employee. His entire team, after the COVID lockdown started in his country, he moved his entire team virtual, which is absolutely fantastic. But that brought a couple of different problems that we had to solve. It gave him the ability to grow his team super fast. But with that came the challenge of making sure that everyone's on the same page, making sure that we can coach each and every one of those team members to their highest potential. And so this is the process. Are you ready? Pencils and pens out, my friends. Step number 1 is to set the standard. Now, this is where most team leaders drop off. This is what they forget to do in the first place. So you set the standard. You put your line in the sand and you say, this is acceptable standard. This is the expected behavior or the expected outcomes that we are looking for from each of our team members. So in this case, you could actually look at his team members and see who was the most productive all the way down to those who are the least productive. And no, I am not advocating for pinning your employees against each other or even creating those graphs and comparing the high achievers to the lowest achievers, because there's something missing that is separating those two, and just looking at the extremes is not going to help you understand what's actually going on. So what I want you to do is first set the standard and say, this is what we expect. Maybe it's a certain level of customer service. Maybe it's a certain process of following up with your customers. Maybe there are other KPIs or other metrics within your company and within your team that are important to pay attention to. So making sure that we set that standard. It's kind of like when you're hiring for your team and you have all of your job descriptions and the duties and responsibilities that employee or that role will cover. It's the same kind of thinking. What is that standard? What is that job description, and are they working towards it? The second part, though, that a lot of people who set their standard forget to do is to make sure that we're actually coaching our employees to that standard. So we're not just saying to staff, oh, well, I gave you a task, you didn't do it properly, now you're fired. Instead, hold that standard up and say, how can we help you achieve that? These were the very specific areas in which you were not meeting that standard, so let's address those and figure out how we can move those forward. When you're working from this type of data, it removes the feeling of, oh, I'm being mean, or, oh, it's more of a personality thing. They won't like me. It's not about that. It's about, are you able to perform to a standard? Some people, I'll warn you right now, some employees, some members of your team will not fit very well with this mold. So determine if this is the kind of process that you're really willing to undertake. This is going to be a drastic overhaul for most people when it comes to building up their teams. But if you're just getting started building your team, it's the perfect opportunity to start with this type of a system. So let me know down in the comments if you're interested, if you think that you're actually going to do step 1, set the standard, do step 2, and coach to that standard. Let me know down in the comments. Big pet peeve. Most managers fail to listen to their team members. So they think that they're up here on this pedestal where they know all the answers, and they don't think that their employees or their team members have anything of value to provide. They are just to get the work done. Hate to tell you, but that is the easiest way to build animosity and build negative feelings within your team. I know, we were just talking about getting the emotions out of your team, but the reality is people are people, and it matters how they are treated. Team members want to be heard. They want to be understood by their managers. And so the biggest mistake that most managers make is that they fail to take on the feedback and take on the ideas that their teams generate. So look for opportunities to brainstorm with your people. I work with an organization. I love going in and building in these fun creative projects with them. But what we do, what we have going on right now is we have these giant glass, like it's this giant hallway that's like floor to ceiling glass windows that they walk by. And these are the like managers' offices and stuff. And the employees all have access to these whiteboard markers where they're generating ideas and they're brainstorming on all these different topics as they walk by the manager's office. So this way, employees actually have changed the route that they take in the building so that they are walking by the manager's office rather than taking the external hallways and trying to avoid their management team. This starts great conversations. These idea generating stations we have all throughout the office, not just outside the manager's office. We have Bristol boards up for idea generating outside the water cooler and the coffee machine, outside of the conference areas. And this way, employees have the ability to add in their feedback. I think it's a more public, cool version of the suggestion box. The suggestion box, because of its anonymity, gives people a different type of space to generate ideas, which is absolutely essential. I think having a confidential space for employees to raise concerns or to generate ideas is absolutely essential. But what is also important is having these public displays of idea generating. This then helps other staff who might be a little bit shyer or who might not, or who need some people to start and take action first before they step in. They want to assess the situation first. This gives them that public ability to see what other people are generating, to bounce ideas off of each other. And what's really, really cool is when you have a manager who not only has released that hold on their staff, they allow them to create and generate ideas, but then you have other managers who are all doing the same thing, who bring their whole teams together to generate ideas. Now, this sounds crazy, but I went to this really crazy hippie high school where the students created most of the direction of the school. So we picked the courses, we picked the curriculum, all that kind of stuff. And we did it because we had weekly student meetings where the whole school would get together. There wasn't that many students, so it wasn't that crazy. But we would bounce ideas. Like, what was the problem of the day? How could we come up with ideas? And the staff would be meeting in the next room with their staff meeting, and then we'd all come together. And a lot of times the issues that the staff were talking about were the same things that the students were talking about. And when all of us got together and were able to hash it out, it wasn't about the seniority of teacher versus student. It was member of the community and member of the community. We were all working towards a shared common goal, and we wanted to do it together. That's when we had huge ideas come out, brilliant projects that started, things that got us known internationally as just a bunch of like crazy kids doing really incredible things. And the same thing applies to your business as well. Start shaking up that structure. If you think that just because you're a manager means that your people have to listen and only listen to you, I want you to invite that to become a two-way street. Build in those moments for conversation, build moments where your people can chat and generate ideas within themselves. And man, if you want an A+ superstar, gold star moment, then find areas where you can cross collaborate with different teams as well. That is going to change the game. And what also is going to change the game for you guys is hitting the subscribe button and joining us here on the channel. We briefly talked about the importance of giving power to your team members, but I want to stress it just a little bit more if you haven't really been listening. We want to make sure that we are empowering our team members, giving them the tools that they need in order to make a change. We want our people to feel like they have the authority and the direction to make a difference. So when we go back to the beginning where we talked about setting standards and coaching people to those standards, the same thing applies in their level of authority. Show them what their current level of authority is and coach them to make the most of that. And then give them another level of authority and coach them up to that standard as well. This way we are continuously growing the authority, but most importantly, growing the skill set of our employees, giving them the ability to test out and try. And ultimately, we're giving them the space to fail, but we're giving them a safe range to fail in. A kind of failure that we can coach from, not a failure that means we're going to fire them. That's a big difference. So finding those opportunities is kind of like raising a human. I was watching a bunch of nature documentaries recently, and the big question I was trying to figure out was, why are some animals born and like they just start walking within like minutes or an hour or so of being born, and then humans are humans that need a lot of love, care, and attention so that they don't hurt themselves for the first like 18 years of their life. So what I learned is that prey animals, because of the environment that they're raised in, they have to be able to get up and go. Their brains are developed fully in utero, so that when they come out, they don't need, they only need physical growth. They don't need in their cognitive or brain development growth. Whereas humans, on the other hand, and other predator animals we don't develop as much in utero. We do most of our growing outside after birth. So that got me thinking. When we as parents of humans, we have these babies who need our attention 100% of the time, but eventually over the years, they grow up, they learn their own boundaries, and we kind of set them off into the world. It's the same with our employees. We have to start out taking care of them, covering up all the sharp corners and the electrical units and all of that stuff so they don't hurt themselves. But eventually, if we keep all of those bumpers on, we're not going to raise strong employees or strong adults. So we want to slowly offer more and more risk, more and more challenge and obstacles for them to think around and to process through. So the same thing happens for your employees and for your teams, my friends. So if you want to learn more about building up great teams, connecting to your ideal customers, growing your small business or any small business that you're helping with, then join us over in the visibility hacking community. Head over to visibilityhacking.com, click the link at the top of the page, become a visibility hacker. It'll pop you over into our Facebook group where we go live on a regular basis. We got great shows like Friday Night Live and the live show. Lots of options for you guys to learn more. And always, we love when you guys post your questions, and we love to give you guys our advice as well. So guys, thank you so much for joining me for this video. I will see you in the visibility hacking community, clearly, and in our next video. As per usual, my friends, remember, I love you. Be excellent to each other. Go build your connection machine.